When I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
my head up.
I'm South Carolina, so I just
Got it.
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Morris?
Oh, my heart.
Happy 20th anniversary.
My heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? John.
And dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's a
The doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all and more.
letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover, entered the winning for the long haul, baby. I hope that you are well. All right, so unbeknownst to some of you, my daddy was a funeral director. And in order to be a funeral director, you also have to be a mortician. Long story short, my brother once told me, my older brother Teddy, he's gone now, got his wings, how my dad knew every bone in the human body. Now, my dad's been gone about 20-some years, just over 20 years. But he would talk about things from time to time, not bragging or anything, just for education, to educate me on some of the fascinating aspects of the human body. One is the ileocecal valve. And we're waiting on our guest. Let me just tell you, I'm killing a little bit of time. His name is Dr. Asante Dickson, and his forte at last check was getting people into medical school. So let me make sure our guest is straight. This is not like him. We had him scheduled a couple of weeks ago, I think. And he had a gunshot wound he had to take care of. So bear with me a second, folks. Bear with me. I guarantee it'll be worth your time to hear from Dr. Asante Dickson, MD. Bear with me a second, folks. Right, try the email I just sent you. Okay, do you have a different browser? You use Chrome or Google? You can try it. Yes. Do you have Chrome on there? Or Firefox? Now remember, you've been on before. Oh, I understand. I've I've had every mishap imaginable happen. So, folks, we are live. We will have Dr. Dickson momentarily. You just be patient. We're nonetheless glad to have you, Dr. Dickson. I was just sharing some of the things my dad had taught me about, like including about the human body. Now, I don't know if you remember, but I told you he was a mortician. But from time to time, the topic of the ileocecal valve will come up. Yeah, about that. We've learned that with this technology, what can go wrong will go wrong. Like the phone and the battery. Lord have mercy. I have the biggest challenge keeping my phone charged. It's a Samsung. I got some type of app that's on there. I need to go back to the store and have them reduce the app. But I can never stay charged up. Before I know it, it's gone. And I'm on to the backup. It is. And guess what? Worst come to worst, we can just do right here on the phone. So no worries. Okay. What you gonna do when the doctor tell you to hold on? Hold on. So, Doc, look, this phone here doesn't have much juice on it. So let me just give you, no, hold tight. If that doesn't work, just use your phone. Okay? We'll hold tight. We try to avoid the phone. It's not the greatest look, but beats a blank. Folks, we're about to interview Dr. Asante Dickson. And if you have a young person who is interested in going to medical school, this is the show you want to watch. Many thank you to our sponsors, including some new ones. Mr. Byron Deese, Dreammakers Network, dreammakersnetwork.org. He's all about financial planning, making sure we're financially viable for the future. Special thank you also to Councilwoman, Baltimore City Councilwoman Felicia Porter. She's joined Councilman John Bullock in advertising their campaigns for re-election. The election is May 14th here in the city of Baltimore. Actually, Venroy July is running against Councilman John Bullock. That'll be an interesting fight there in the 9th. Felicia Porter's in the 10th. So those are some political updates. I understand a poll came out today that puts Brandon Scott ahead of Sheila Dickson. This will be interesting. The polls we've heard thus far had Sheila Dickson excuse me, Sheila Dickson, ahead of the mayor. Mayor gets television time just about every day. There we go. Here we go. Here comes the money. Thank you for not making a liar out of me. Can you hear me okay?
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Excellent. Excellent. All right.
We're here. It's been a minute. How have you been, Dr. Dickson?
I've been well, thank you. I apologize to everybody for the technical challenges there.
Well, it's okay. I have a makeup assignment for you.
Okay.
When you get a phone call saying that someone has a gunshot, I mean, maybe I'll just watch too much Chicago PD, New York Undercover, so on and so forth. What do you have to do? Do you pour a bottle of a fifth of absolute vodka on the wound to clean it off? I watch a lot of movies.
That's funny. Well, I mean, that's not the worst idea in the world.
You get to put pressure on the wound to slow down
That question brings me down so many avenues. Number one. Okay, so let me answer the question in earnest, and that is, the first thing is you need to hold pressure. So you take your hand, if you've got like a shirt or something that you can like actually jam into the hole itself and then put pressure on top of it, that would be helpful.
You've had to do that.
I've never had to do that in like out on the street. No, I've never been out on the street and saw somebody shot and then I have to like jam my finger in the hole. No, that's never happened. My most recent gunshot where I had to stick my finger in something was actually at Howard University. I was on call for Howard University. And, Howard is a big trauma center here in Washington, D.C. And a young man got shot and it went through his abdomen and out his butt. And he was laying on the CT table because we were scanning him. And there was concern that the bullet may have gone through his rectum. And so I was really concerned, and they were taking a little bit too much time to get him prepped to get scanned. So I just put on a pair of gloves, and he was laying on his back, and I spread his legs, and I took my finger and I jammed my finger literally up his butt because I'm trying to feel around and also to see if there's any blood, because there was blood everywhere. So we were trying to figure, is the blood coming from off of his abdomen? Is it coming from an entrance wound out of his butt cheek, or is it coming from his rectum? Because obviously, if his rectum is severed or damaged, that's a totally different type of surgery that needs to be done. And I know, people listening may say, well, oh my God, I can only imagine the comments going on right now. But let me tell you, when you're in a situation of somebody is emergently in need of assistance, all these ideas of, oh, I don't want anybody sticking their finger up my butt. Let me tell you something. That is the last thing you're thinking about when you're laying on the table bleeding out, is whether or not
life and death.
Another man is sticking his finger in your butt. Trust me, that's the last thing you're thinking about. And if I'm trying to help you and guide your treatment, the last thing I'm thinking about is, oh, I'm not sticking my hand up no man's butt, right? That is not what it is. I mean, I'm not there to play around. I'm there to figure out what's happening and get this person the algorithm, the path, the strategy that they need to be treated so that they don't die.
Where was the hole?
So it did not go through his rectum. It just missed his rectum, but it went through his abdomen, into his pelvis, and out of his butt cheek. And I think it nicked a lot of other things, but it did not nick his GI tract,
What's the GI tract?
his gastrointestinal tract, his
Gastrointestinal.
rectum, sigmoid colon, those areas down in the pelvis, because that also is important for the surgeons to know when they if they're going to open them, what's the approach to open them and what areas should they focus on, even though they may, running the entire belly to make sure that everything's okay. But it's good to know ahead of time so that you can focus your attention on the thing that you know is broken. Especially if the patient is, like, we use the term crumping, especially if the patient's going downhill.
Crumping?
Yeah, it's a term. I don't even know where you learn that term. That's a term you learn in the medical jargon. Somebody's crumping, right? Crumping means they're going down, like they're circling the toilet. All right, we that's another phrase used in medicine is, you say somebody's circling the bowl, that means that they're going down. Right? So you might hear somebody say, I did this, I did that, I did this, we did everything. He's still circling the bowl.
What course or courses help you, the doctor, the physician? What courses help you mentally wrap your brain around an emergency?
What courses help me wrap my brain around emergencies?
They keep you from falling out, losing your cool, and helps you to focus on the trauma at hand.
Okay, I think like anything else in life, that comes with exposure. It comes with years and years and years of training and being in the environment. Everybody can be trained to be cool under pressure. The key is training. You don't take an average civilian and put them in the middle of blood and guts and expect them to be cool under pressure. In medicine, being cool under pressure comes from years of medical school, years of internship, or rather a year of internship, years of residency, potentially years of fellowship training, then years of being your own doctor, attending out in the world, seeing it time and time again. And remember, throughout those years of training, you're always watching a senior doctor operate, or you're watching a senior doctor engage. So you mimic what you've seen, right? The analogy I always give is, if you're a boxing fan, when you look at professional boxers, they are able to, for example, if you punch me, my natural response is either I'm going to go like this, or I'm going to shy away. I'm going to go backwards, or you're lucky if I don't just turn around and run, right? But if you look at professional boxers, like look at a guy like Mayweather, right? Whoever's a boxer, real fan out there. Mayweather's defense on a punch is often, in addition to putting his shoulder up to protect his jaw, sometimes you'll see Mayweather actually lean into the punch, right? Because leaning into the punch, if you beat the elbow, the punch is more likely to glaze off of your cheek and come over you. The average person, if they see a punch coming, their natural tendency is not to lean into the punch. Their tendency is to come backwards. And coming backwards, you're more likely to, one, get clocked somewhere in your jaw, right, in the night. And number two, the extension of the punch, now you've given that arm more of a target to potentially hit, as opposed to if I run into it, I've given less time. Guess what? That comes with training. That comes with years and years of Mayweather and guys like him training from the time they're 16 years old how to see where the punch is coming from and naturally step into it, as opposed to what we all would do is step back or turn around and run. It's the same thing in medicine, right? You put me in a boxing ring today, I'll be knocked out in the first 30 seconds because number one, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And number two, my natural instinct is going to be protect myself. And how do non-trained boxers protect themselves is they run away. So that's my best answer to you. It is training, 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 training. And actually, when I train medical students or residents or fellows, one of the big things I lecture about now is maintaining control in situations where stuff is going down. Right? So when the room becomes chaotic, you are the captain of the ship. And everybody in the room, the nurses, the techs, the circulators, everybody is looking to you to guide and set the tone. So if you are freaked out,
your team is going to be freaked out.
Your team is going to be freaked out. If you can't give concise orders as to what everybody should be doing, you're going to have chaos in the room. And some physicians, I've seen it, they're great physicians, but when the S hits the F, they may have problems with giving concise, direct orders, right? Like I always say, you don't just say, I need somebody to do this. What you say is you say, Doni, I need you to increase the oxygen. No more than 5 liters. This guy is COPD. We got to remember that from his history. You know, even 5 liters, actually forget 5 liters, make it 2. Right? You can't just say, I need somebody, because now who's somebody?
Got to be succinct, direct. It's wartime. It's
emergency. Wartime, right? Massive blood transfusion. Doni, I need you to initiate the blood transfusion protocol. You, not somebody. Right? And like I can tell you for me, when the S hits the F, I tend to get quiet. And I tend to get quiet because I don't want a lot of noise, because when it's time to talk, I want people to be able to hear. And I don't want a lot of noise distraction, because when there's a lot of noise distraction, then when you say something, how are people going to tune in on what you're saying? Because there's so much stuff going on. So there's your answer. You asked one question, but I just gave you a lecture.
Oh, it's beautiful. As you were talking, you won't believe this, but a movie came to mind. A movie about a black man. The actor was Mos Def.
Oh yeah, about Hopkins.
Vivian Thomas.
Vivian Thomas. I was his first name is like a woman's name, Vivian.
Yes, yes. And he was assisting Dr. David Blaylock in Blue Baby Disease.
Yep.
And what came to mind, besides the racism that Vivian Thomas faced, he was training Johns Hopkins doctors.
Yeah.
But when he went to school to get his own degree at Morgan, they made him take Biology 101, Chemistry 101. This man had been training Hopkins doctors, but damn if Morgan didn't give him any pass. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's what I remember about the movie. It's one thing getting S from others. It's another thing getting S from home.
Well, look, I'm sure you could do about 2 weeks straight of the dynamic of how Black people engage with one another in a system where we are marginalized. And that engagement amongst ourselves, the majority of the time, is positive, but there is that percentage of time where we often will perpetuate a lot of the same lack of trust issues, and our inability to see one another as valuable. And I'm not saying that that particular instance is one of those cases because I don't know enough about it. But, you know, here we are, we're on Black news. And so we're talking about Black issues. And one of the challenges that I have faced in my lifetime as a Black person is often trying to navigate being a Black man in a system that is not really made for me, and where I am not common, particularly in my specialty and my position. I am the chief of radiology for a large healthcare system here in Montgomery County, Maryland. And there's never been a Black person in this position here in this system before. So I have a lot of shoes to fill and convince people that I can fill on a daily basis. And I just had a situation recently, and it's still ongoing, where one of my greatest challenges right now to my power, somebody questioning me, is actually another Black person that is actively challenging me publicly in order for them to try to rise up the ranks. And I've asked myself a couple times, actually this week alone, I've said, if I were a white male in this same position, would this person be challenging me the same way? And I question that. I question that. I don't know if there's ever a way I'll be able to prove it. But these are the questions that many Black people listening to this will probably be able to say, wow, I've been there before. Right. And you know, I don't know if this is the direction you wanted to go, but we're having an open conversation. And this really is, to me, it's learned behavior, and it is behavior of marginalized people. It doesn't happen just in Black people. It happens in people who are marginalized systemically, which is that we start to learn the patterns, and we then engage in those same patterns, particularly when we see one of our own in positions of authority. We say, well, I'm going to engage with that individual because I don't see the value in that person the same way I see the value in the person of authority who does not look like me.
Oh yeah, it happens. I have some other terms that come to mind. Willie Lynch comes to mind. The white man's ice is colder comes to mind. Also, I've seen it in scenarios where they're all women, where you would think women, and generally women are supportive of each other, but there are those instances where a woman is starting to do to other women what men have done to her.
Exactly. Again, it's behavior of marginalized people. So marginalization can happen. It can be race-based. It can be ethnicity-based. It can be gender-based. It could be physical. It could be those who are shamed because they are larger, heavier people, fat people. It could be those who are short, right, in whatever environment they're in, or whatever the standard of tall and short is. Like, for example, what comes to mind is I just went with the family. We went to Mexico for a couple of days for spring break. And in Mexico, most of the people there by United States standards are short, right? Most of the Mexican people I saw, they are not 6'2". Whereas here, it is very common to walk around every day and see men who are 6'1", 6'2", average, easy, right? So you already can think about the ways that marginalization can affect the short man here in the United States, because he is
or short woman, the Napoleonic complex, it's been said.
right, or a short woman. Although I'd have to take some time to think about, women have, there are, in my opinion, there are overlapping rules with gender, but I think there are some rules that women are not hit as hard with. They're able to compensate because women are held to different standards.
Now, look, you're originally from New York City, right?
I'm from Long Island, so I got to say
I'm
that for all
sorry.
my New York people, because if I say New York City, even though I grew up all of 9 minutes from the Queens border, 9 minutes is 9 minutes for New York City people. You ain't one of us. So I got to say I'm from Long Island.
Marginalization.
Marginalized, exactly. Although I will say, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, right? And so therefore, New York was king in the rap game during that time. And despite the fact that Long Island never got love because we didn't have the number of gunshot wounds, this is really funny with Black people, right? What do we use as the metric as to what's cool, right? So if you're from New York City, if you're from one of the 5 boroughs, why are the 5 boroughs considered cooler? Why are you tougher?
More
Because
murder.
you got more murders, you got more robberies, more sexual assaults, and just more nefarious behavior in general. And that's the metric that Black people use to determine who's cool and who ain't cool. Is that not crazy?
And don't forget Chicago.
It's this not crazy? This is part of the challenge I have in trying to figure out how Black people move as a unit, right? I've always said that Black people are probably we have the most incredible examples of individual success of anybody in the world, right? So we will have the kid from Flatbush, Brooklyn, who will end up a Mensa kid or end up building his own business by the time he's 21 years old. We have those cases everywhere. But then if you say our group progression, that's where we're challenged.
Mass incarceration, health disparities, undereducation, underemployment.
That's where we're challenged.
Mental health.
Mental health.
Here's something I say all the time, Doc. Is this true? If Black people got all of the therapy in the world, it wouldn't matter if white people in America didn't get therapy also, because you're putting that clean glass right back into dirty water.
Well, I say it the opposite way, but it's the same sentence, which is Black people always say, well, white people as a whole, we're talking white people, stereotyping, white people are sick. Well, I say, well, Black people are sick too, right? You can't have one group of people, you can't have 2 groups of people living together in the same medium and one be sick and the other not be sick, right? And we as Black people, we tend to focus on how sick they are. They are sick.
Because that's easier. It's easier for me to look at the boogie on your nose than the one on mine.
Right. But what we're seeing now, particularly after COVID, is COVID exposed a lot of the sickness within the African American community.
Married to someone we don't like, we don't really know our children, can't stand to be alone or prefer to be alone, don't want to be around people. All of those things were to the forefront.
We sick too. I got into a conversation / argument with a gentleman a couple weeks ago where we were talking about, the old police brutality and how the police do the Black man so wrong. And I said, absolutely. And that has been the case for 150 years since the inception of what we know as policing. But I will also argue that the average Black man walks around every day more scared of who?
Another Black person.
That's right.
I'm more likely to get shot, stabbed, bust upside the head in the black community by another black person.
Now, that's my opinion. There may be somebody listening here that says, oh, this guy is out of his mind. I'm just telling you my opinion. My
The
opinion is,
perpetrator.
when I walk around my lifetime, from the time I was 13 years old, and I think about all of the police interactions I've had, and, you know, some weren't so great, honestly. But for every one of those police interactions where I was spread on the hood and they were jamming me in my back, trying to knock the wind out of me, I've had 15 interactions with other black men. Oftentimes, dudes I didn't even know. It might have been just on the street, on the bus, in the mall, where I said to myself, oh my God, like, this could go left real quick because this dude is crazy. Right? So, and of course, when I said that, this guy got really angry and he was like, no, you falling for the propaganda. Right? The only reason why you're saying that is because the media keeps showing black people on TV or on videos engaging in bad behavior. They don't show you that the white people and the white police are engaging in bad behavior at greater levels. They're just not showing it. Whew.
I gotta throw this right back at you. You are a hip hop fan. Happy anniversary. Happy 60th anniversary to hip hop.
50.
Going back to the Bronx and Cool Herc. We had Queen Lisa on the show last week. Soul Sonic Force.
Oh, we heard Soul Sonic Force. Oh, that's going back.
Well, just down your way, down in DC, they just had some April 4th. Last week, they had a 60th anniversary thing. But just in hip hop in general, and you love hip hop. You are a huge fan of hip hop.
No doubt.
But isn't it laced with violence?
Look.
Not necessarily.
No. I'm saying, let me just bring this conversation so those who are listening, they can follow, right? We talked about, because we've gone a couple different places. We've talked about violence in the black community. We've talked about narratives. So which narrative should we believe? Do we believe that white and non-black people engage in the same levels of violence, whether it be against black people or against their own people, in the same levels that we experience in our communities? That's arguable. We talked about the
gunshots.
narrative. We talked about the narrative of, are the police the greatest threat to the black man's physical well-being? Right? Is that true? That statistically you are more likely to be hurt or killed by a police officer in your life than another black man? And now we're going to the music that we listen to and the music that we've all grown up listening to, the violence within that music. How does that play a role in supporting a lot of the violent realities that we live in our respective black communities? Just this morning, I was on my way to work thinking about how I grew up listening to hip hop, and hip hop was a soundtrack to my life.
Is there a particular song?
Oh, I got nothing.
I'll give you three songs.
Okay. Oh, give me 3 songs? All right. So the one that I have always kind of heard in my head 40 years later is, let me look up who are the artists. It's called They're Not Gonna Be Able to Do. It's like, can you do it? Not gonna be able to do. Hold on a second. all the hip hop heads. Okay, hold up. Here it is. Double X Posse.
1992.
19, yep. And that song, you know, maybe once or twice a year, it comes into my head because it speaks to a couple things. Now that I do a lot of lecturing on mental health, anatomical basis of stress response, particularly in Black people, I always think of these lyrics. The chorus is, "Can you do it?" And he responds, "Not gonna be able to do." Right? And I think about that because a lot of our people struggle with saying no. We're unable to say, "I can't do it." And it's not just "I can't do it" from a, "Hey, Donnie, can you pick up that cabinet? Can you pick up that plate and bring it here?" I'm not necessarily talking about action can't do. I'm talking about when somebody says, "I need you to pick up the kids, then I need you to cook dinner, then I need you to clean the house, then I need you to go to work, then I need you to give over your paycheck to everybody so that everybody else can do what they're doing. Meanwhile, you got kids in the house who not doing anything. They not pulling their weight. They just in the back room playing PlayStation until 3 o'clock in the morning, not doing anything. And you are holding it down, but you are doing it because you are just trying to keep everybody alive and not holding anybody else accountable for their part in holding the family together." This can lead to your demise, your slow demise. Your health starts to fail. Your psychological viability starts to fail. And we are unable to say, "You know what? Stop. I cannot be the only person in this house doing everything for everybody, and nobody else is lifting a finger to assist."
Dr. Dickson, I must interject. I went to the college of Dr. Lily Glover, MD. That was my mama. The first day of summer, you know, I'm 11, 12 years old. It's summertime, yay! Go downstairs. There's a note on the freezer door. There's a note: before you go outside. All of those things you just noted, signed Mom.
Yeah.
And you knew you can ignore that note if you want to, but there will be repercussions. And the worst repercussions was that day you did something you weren't supposed to do, and she told you, "I'm going to tell your father."
Yeah.
And when he came home, he was not his normal self. He said something you had never heard in your life before. "Take my clothes off and go run your bath water." What type of some Abu Nidal, Saddam Hussein, Bin Laden terrorism is about to go down? Well, I tell you, I can remember uttering these words in the middle of the spanking. "I won't do it anymore." And I could hear the very clear, you remember, call and response.
Yes.
As soon as I called that, the response was, "I know you won't." And that's why I am here today. Of course, with the grace and mercy of the good Lord.
I get it. And I think, can you do it? not going to be able to do. I think this is that is such it's a prophetic statement, because it really speaks to one's ability to say, I'm drawing a line here and I'm saying that I need help, or I'm stretching myself too thin and I just can't do it anymore. I think we now need to start saying that more in our lives. We need help. We need others to assist us. And you talked about some of us can't be without people and some of us can't be with people, right? Those of us who can't be without people are often really compensating for some inner void. There's something missing inside, and you are trying to make up for that by surrounding yourself with people to kind of hide either pain or loss or fear, right? And we need more opportunities for us to say, wait. This always got people around, always got people in my living room drinking up all my liquor. Like, we need to say, stop. What is really going on here? And there's been a lot more focus on behavioral health in the past couple of years, and I think that is good. But it needs to be normalized more, where people are able to say, you're not going to do this anymore to me.
Boundaries.
Boundaries, right? And look, Black family is still strong as ever, despite what the stats may say. I think that Black people still have strong family roots.
Let me tell you how I know. I got to tell you this, Doc. Doc, I saw something since the last time I've had you on the show. Blew my mind. I live in Sandtown, and where Freddie Gray got killed, West Baltimore, inner city West Baltimore. 9 o'clock, about to start the show. The German Shepherd's making noise at the front door. I go to see what is the business. Now, Baltimore is the least gentrified city on the East Coast. People from D.C. buy houses up here because they figure if it's 800,000 in D.C., it might be just 40, 50, 60, 70 in Baltimore, which is true. Doc, I go up, and so, and Baltimore is also, you need to know this, the most segregated city in America. They say the segregation started here back in 1910. The mayor was J. Barry Mahul. They built this suburban garden community called Roland Park. And the white people in Roland Park didn't want Black people to be able to come there, move there. And they went so far in a diabolical, insidious manner for white people to not be able to move into Black neighborhoods too. And this was replicated around the country. I go to the front door. It is a white woman. Up until 2015, 9 years ago, you would not see white people coming through my neighborhood because the police would stop them because they know they're here to buy dope. After Freddie Gray and the consent decree came in, increasingly more and more white people come to Sandtown. Well, this one particular morning, it was a white woman who had one foot amputated. Apparently somebody snatched her wheelchair. And Doc, she was literally crawling down the street. I did not like this change that happened since 2015. But I will tell you, there started to be so many white people coming to the Black neighborhood, buying dope, shooting dope, living in vacant houses, that something changed in my heart. I am Baltimore. I will not apologize for it. Whites over there, Blacks over here. But a humanity was struck. And you see that they suffer from drug addiction and alcoholism as bad as anybody you've ever seen. As a matter of fact, I saw worse cases than I've ever seen in my life.
You know what's interesting about Baltimore, and I can't say I've spent a lot of time in Baltimore, but Baltimore is a city that I've never seen. Okay, let me not say never. Baltimore is a city that strikes me because I see a lot of poor white people living amongst poor black people. And most American cities are highly segregated to the point where, yes, everybody's poor, but even the white poor have a separate area. But in
It was
Baltimore,
like that.
if you drive through Baltimore, you will see a lot of poor black people, poor white people living amongst the black people. And it's prevalent enough where over the years, I'm like, wow, it's so, that's so interesting. What is, because you just talked about it's the most segregated city, but yet at the same time, what am I seeing? What's going on in Baltimore that's different?
They go to their phone, and not just poor white people from other parts of Baltimore, but they go to Google on their phone. Where's the best heroin in Baltimore? Literally, I've been told this. Baltimore's a heroin city. I don't know if you know that, but it's known for heroin. Known for heroin for since the 70s. And then here's something for you to take it international, and you've seen it much more up close than have I, presumably. The fentanyl.
Yeah.
Here's a fascinating thing about the fentanyl. 90% of the fentanyl comes from China. In 1997, just to expand this dialogue, China got Hong Kong back under its control because for 150 years prior to 1997, Hong Kong was run by England, Great Britain. How did England, this little small country, get Hong Kong in a country with 1.5 billion people? Opium wars.
Yeah, no, look, I know, again, those listening, you got to be sharp on this conversation because we're all over the place. But if you think about the power of the poppy seed historically, you will find reasons for war and you will find reasons for colonization. Right?
Except in Afghanistan, they're not having it.
Well, Afghanistan, if you look in the 1800s, why were the British in Afghanistan in the 1800s? Multiple reasons, but one of them was also poppy trade.
Daggone right.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And I would even venture a guess, this is just my theory, that one of the reasons why the United States no longer sees Afghanistan as a worthy conquest is because now with synthetic fentanyl, you don't need to control the natural poppy seed trade like you used to for the past 150 or 200 years, because now you can make it in a lab.
Talk about it, Doc.
So now, all of a sudden, Afghanistan, seeing all these young men and women get their legs blown off in Afghanistan, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Now, I'm not saying that's the reason, but I'm saying that is definitely something to consider as one of the reasons why Afghanistan is not as pretty and shiny as it was for the past 150 years. Synthetic fentanyl.
One of the things that I've often bragged about, and we can't miss this in this conversation, one of your passions, Doc, besides family, no doubt, is, and thank you for that reminder, that families must go on vacation together, must do something, must do a lot of things together. And we must keep that family bond, number one, the nuclear family. But your passion, part of your passion is training new doctors. And I will tell you, you inspire me to help attempt to train new journalists.
Yeah. You have to have a passion. You have to do something. If your job is your passion, then good. You get 2 in 1. But if your job is kind of a passion, but also your primary means of supporting your family, and you've got a true passion that isn't necessarily an economic reward, I still think you should engage in that because it makes you healthier. It will help you live longer. And, when you talk about, being a positive contribution or positive contributor to society, that is pursuing your passion. And what better passion than to try to share your skill set with those coming up behind you, right? Because we all are here because somebody shared something with us. I am a physician. I am a chief of a large hospital system because somebody shared their passion, their life, their experiences with me. So I would be a selfish SOB if I was here now and all I did was go to and from work every day and not share this with others who are coming up behind me.
Doc, any thoughts on the state of health in Black America? We are confronted now, and I didn't. It kind of struck me last week. It was actually stated to me that we're gluttonous. We eat too much compared to other countries around the world. You look at Asians, or you look at people around the Mediterranean with Mediterranean diets filled with olives, and here, especially in the Black community, Dr. Zolikoff has said this. He said you could actually live off of potato chips for 20 years, but will you be the healthiest? No. So we got food deserts, and he objected to the term food deserts. All I know is, Doc, there's not a grape or a string bean within a mile of my house.
I think historically, when you look at marginalized people, we have built a culture in the Black community that gives us joy and that we had comfort. And we didn't have a lot of joy and we didn't have a lot of comfort. And so we tried to find that in things that we could control. And that was the small amount of food that we were allowed to have. And so we used that to create joy and comfort. So the idea of food and creation of food and flavors and taste, that is something that has kept our people alive for centuries. However, in today's world, that same culture is now translating into eating Chick-fil-A 5 times a week, right? And eating out at restaurants 6-7 times a week. And everything is microwaved and nothing is fruit or plant-based. Everything is meat and preservative-based. And our culture is very much so. I mean, listen, I can guess that you've been around Black folks recently where everything is about, ooh, that tastes so good. Or, we got to eat these chicken wings. They got the best flavored buffalo lemon pepper wings you've ever had. The fact that it's fried and in 30 pounds of salt and 22 pounds of sugar, nobody's thinking about that. It's that dopamine hit of the 20 minutes of you tasting this, right? And I've always said that eating for us, and you use the word gluttonous, that's a compensatory mechanism. When you can't control, you don't have a job or you don't make enough to support your family, you live in a world where you have very limited automatic credibility. You live in a world where you have very little exposure to opportunity compared to some of your other American
counterparts.
What do? You're looking for ways to cope. And that could be alcoholism. It could be smoking cigarettes, gambling. And a lot of us, it's eating. Because for those 20 minutes you're eating that 5,000 calorie hamburger at Cheesecake Factory, that's 20 minutes where you're essentially got a dopamine hit from the fentanyl, right? That is you got some people on the street that are zombieing because of the heroin and the fentanyl. And you have many of us, for every one person on the street zombieing from fentanyl and heroin, there are 35 of us that are sitting in our living rooms, door dashing and Uber eating 5,000 calorie cheeseburgers and fries and milkshakes. And they're getting the same dopamine hit as that fentanyl and that heroin.
Ouch.
Right? Because it's a combination of culture intersecting with pain and suffering and people looking to escape. It's my theory. Right? It's my theory. I mean, you look in restaurants now, and restaurants are, I mean, here in the DC area, restaurants live on Black people. Right? I mean, it's very common. You see a group of Black women, they're there for a birthday party. Everybody's dressed up and they're dressed in their high heels and they all made up and they're done up. And they are ordering. You look at the table and the food on the table. And everybody, and then you see they at the end, they're like leaned back like this because they've eaten like 6,000 calories in one sitting, enough to last like a whole week. And then you see all the to-go boxes. And then everybody's walking out to the car with their to-go boxes. And you're just like, okay, I mean, I'm not against having a good time, but this is also what contributes to my job as a physician. Why I see so many Black people coming in missing legs, getting amputations, all kinds of chronic disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, recurrent pancreatitis, not to mention the cancer and the inflammatory diseases. It's the food. And it's not only the food, but it's the volumes of it that we are intaking on a daily basis. And even if we have the option, because when we go to these restaurants, right, think about, your term food desert that you said that you don't like, right? But when we go to those restaurants, you don't think they've got string beans and lettuce on the menu in those restaurants, but we don't choose that. We don't choose the lettuce and the string beans. We choose the steak and the fettuccine Alfredo with shrimp.
How did I know you were going to say that?
Right? They have vegan options. They have meat options of smaller portions with less calorie, less cheese, less cream. Right? You don't have to go vegan. You can get, instead of getting the 38,000 ounce steak, you can get the 1 ounce steak. Instead of getting the crab macaroni and cheese, you can get the spinach. So yes, there are food deserts.
Or we could split it. I don't have to have the whole lobster macaroni. I can split it.
You don't have to have the whole lobster macaroni, right?
I like the spinach though. The spinach sounds good.
Right, but again, this is culture. A lot of it is culture for us. It is culture, and then on top of that, it is just we are all drug addicts in our own way. So it is unfair to look at these men and women out there drooping on the corner with the fentanyl and saying, "Oh, those dirty drug addicts." You your own damn drug addict. You just not injecting fentanyl.
Doc, before my daddy went home, he had 14 different prescriptions.
Exactly.
I just thought that was way too much.
Right? I mean, some of us are fentanyl addicts on food. Some of us are fentanyl addicts on anger. Just walking around every day, angry at everybody, tearing up everybody, cussing out everybody, not giving anybody an opportunity to have a conversation with you because we're so angry. We are violent. We are verbally violent or physically violent. And sometimes it's with our own family.
Starts at home.
You're a fentanyl addict and you need help too.
How much water do you drink a day, Doc?
Well, this is my attempt.
You shut me up.
I don't get it all the time, but I have it.
Doc,
Yeah.
we're not gonna be greedy and take too much time. You have to come back. It's been too long since you've been on. And who knew that you were down in Montgomery County?
Yeah, I'm in Montgomery County. Actually, next time I come to Baltimore, and actually I may be in Baltimore within the next 24 to 48 hours, so I'll reach out to you.
There's a restaurant that I have to take you to. It's called Prim and Proper. It's a fine dining black-owned restaurant by two black restaurateurs who came together. Prim and Proper.
Okay, bet.
And they've got some sauteed spinach I want to introduce you to. And the
All
chef,
right,
they
bet.
cook the food right there in plain sight.
Okay, I'll bet. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking. I hope those on listening, I hope that we talk about things that make you start thinking. Changing behavior is not easy. It's not easy for me. I've got my own fentanyl crisis mentally that I deal with every day too. Nobody is without it. Everybody is struggling. Everybody is struggling. Just because I'm a physician doesn't mean I don't have my own issues. Trust me. If I sit here and open up, I tell you I'm messed up too.
Okay, so here's for transparency. Have you listened to Cowboy Carter?
No.
I had to ask. You might lose some points with that. I'm gonna leave that alone. What have you been listening to? And by the way, African Bambaata's name came up when we interviewed Queen Zulu last week. African Bambaata's name came up and that whole history there. But
if you want to, when I drive into work, I'm usually listening to 90s hip hop. So I listen to a lot of Mos Def, a lot of Biggie Smalls. There's an artist called AZ. Back in the 90s, I listened to a lot of AZ. Nas, of course. On Pandora, there is a station that I listen to. It is called Flying Lotus. So anybody out there, it's kind of like 90s hip hop beats, but then it's instrumental. And then they put kind of melodic tones on top of it. So it's kind of like soothing, even though it is kind of got that 90s hip hop kind of basis to it. I listen to that sometimes when I don't want to hear, I don't want to really listen to the lyrics. I just want to hear something that makes me feel comfortable. Believe it or not, I was never really a big Jay-Z fan. I mean, I appreciate Jay-Z for all he's done, but I'm a big flow type person. When I listen to hip hop, I'm listening to your cadence. That's my big word, cadence. I'm listening to how you deliver your words. And guys like AZ and Nas and Biggie, they were the best in the game.
Okay, I got to throw these two at you. Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole.
I appreciate them as well, but maybe it's because I'm old. I still think that they're not as raw talented in their delivery of messaging like guys like AZ and Nas and Biggie. I'm not taking away from them. But when I'm listening to you, I am building the image in my mind. And the only way I can build the image in my mind is if you place the image in my mind.
How would you describe Jay-Z?
I think Jay-Z delivers the image, but his cadence to me is what I refer to as staccatic. It's not a clean flow. It is word, phrase, deliver, word, phrase, deliver, with a lot more chorus in between. Like Jay-Z is not somebody that I would listen to when I'm driving and lose myself. right? I'm still cognizant of what's going on when Jay-Z is rhyming. When Biggie or Nas or AZ are rhyming, I find myself, I'm like, damn, I missed my exit, because I was
Captivated.
my image. I'm following the conversation. I'm following the interchange of people going into different scenarios, talking to different people. If the dude's talking about running, I'm seeing him running, right? Jay-Z doesn't do that for me the same way. It's just me.
I just got one more question before you go. How important have dogs, have cats, home animals? How important have they become since COVID? More important to people, less important to people?
I don't know if I can answer that. I mean,
Are you a dog person, a cat person?
I'm not. I'm actually deathly allergic to cats. Um, like when cats get around, like my eyes start watering and my face starts puffing up. There's something about cat hair. I can't do cats. Dogs, I have no problem with dogs, but I'm an only child. And I think the reason why I've never been into animals is because I'm like, listen, there's only one person that I can take care of at a time. I can't take care of no damn dog or no cat. It's me or the cat, or it's me or the dog. I see people out there in the morning, and we live in the Northeast, right? So at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, if I'm out there with my cigarette with a dog pulling me, that's not me. That's not gonna happen. That dog is going to die, because I'm not. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening.
Okay. Make sure you check out some Sadiq Ali on YouTube, the new comedian. Well, relatively new.
Okay.
Sadiq Ali.
All right, bet.
A guaranteed chuckle. We appreciate you, Doc. Any final thoughts?
No, it's a pleasure to always talk to you. It's a pleasure to speak to the audience. I think we should probably one day have one where we take questions from the audience, because I like to make sure that I'm engaging with people. And if people have concerns or questions, it may be a good opportunity for people to ask. And it doesn't have to be medical stuff. It could be, just, hey, how do you suggest I deal with this challenge I'm having, that is really affecting me psychologically, and I don't know where to turn. I don't know how to really navigate this challenge. I mean, everybody needs help.
Yes, sir. Dr. Asante Dickson, we appreciate you so much, Doc. Thank you for sharing your love and wisdom with us, and much love to you and your family.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming out. Good night.
Up the day, down tomorrow, do your day, and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it, regardless of how I feel. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper. Good morning.